Welcome everyone to the Preschool Mindfulness Summit. I'm very excited to introduce you to Mariam Gates. Mariam is a best-selling author. She has lots of books, including Good Night Yoga, Good Night Yoga, Good Morning Yoga, Yoga Friends, Meditate with Me, and This Moment is Your Life. I love that title. And very excited. She has a new book coming out. Do you want to show them the cover? It's called Breathe With Me, Using Breath to Feel Strong, Calm, and Happy. And it looks beautiful. And that's coming out in January. Yes. So welcome, Mariam, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks. It's a pleasure to be here, and I love what you're doing.
And we'll have a link to the book where you can find it. And Mariam's kindly provided a video for you all if you want to learn more and watch more. And all her website and social media will be on her speaker bio, so you can click on that. So let's talk about, we have the same passion, obviously, mindfulness with preschoolers. So why do you think mindfulness is helpful for young children?
Well, you know, it's such a good question as to why. I think kids in general are really such a disempowered group. Right? I mean, they need to be. There's so many choices that they really actually can't make for themselves yet. Sometimes that, certainly can include what they eat. It can include what they wear. There's a lot of places where they really don't have agency. And so to give them ways to ground into what they feel and feel kind of a sense of confidence and a sense of comfort in how they feel and what their reactions are to the moments in their lives is powerful and important, and a way to kind of start that early, because as we know as adults, the sphere of what's in our control and what's not kind of shifts and grows as we grow. And so now we're choosing our own food and we're choosing what we wear, but we're not choosing a lot of the important things that happen around us and affect us emotionally. And so that's happening already for kids, and it will continue to happen, and it's sort of part of the human experience. But the more that we can really give them tools now that say, okay, let me see how I'm feeling. Let me ground into this moment. Let me move kind of literally out of reaction and into a more relaxed state, the better. And they can start doing it right away. I mean, as I'm sure you know, and as I'm sure as the folks watching know, they're naturals. They connect right into these teachings. They're already so physical that it meets them right where they're at, and then it gives them these tools that they need now to kind of process all these overwhelming emotions, and they'll need as they grow, as we all do.
Yeah, I love that. And I think you're right. It's so important that we, young kids are very mindful already, but then providing them with these extra strategies, I guess, that they can tap into. I think if all kids at this age, in preschool learn these things, the world would be so different in 20 years or so. So tell us, Mariam, what do you think is the quickest way or the fastest way for young children to learn to be present?
Well, I love the way that kids are already so physical. They're already, their physical experience and their emotional experience are already like right tied together. I mean, anyone who is with a toddler or a preschooler knows that if they're upset, if they're tired, it's a full body experience. So the beautiful thing about mindfulness is that's a key tool. The body is kind of how we first, for beginning, but also advanced mindfulness practitioners, the body is often the place where you start because it is so immediate. And if we're feeling into the moment, how we feel our next breath, we're present. We can't take that deep breath in and that long breath out and not be here with it. If we're focusing on the breath, we're focusing on the moment. So there's all these different ways to use physical senses to bring them right immediately into this moment. I do a listening meditation, and it's actually in my book, Meditate with Me. It gives kind of step-by-step to do it. And I do this with 3-year-olds, where we go through a kind of just a very short counting. We really focus on hearing. We really focus on what we can sense outside the room, inside the room, into our own body. And you can feel the energy in the room change just in, what it ends up being about a 15-second meditation. And the kids are present, and they feel different in their bodies. They feel more awake. And they're practicing mindfulness just like that. So any of the senses, obviously, the breath, as I already said, and as is in the book. This has a bunch of great breathing exercises, all that kind of help manage overwhelming emotions and bring kids more into the moment, and can be done immediately, which I love. You don't even need a mat. But there's so many ways, just noticing in the body. There's a section also in Meditate with Me that talks about what does happy feel like? What does happy feel like in my body? Just helping kids kind of start to understand, what's it feel like to sit in this chair? What does it feel like if I'm feeling sad? Where do I feel it? Where do I feel anger? Is it hotness in my cheeks? Is it a feeling in my chest or tightness in my stomach? And the more that they can start kind of naturally connecting to when they feel a feeling, it isn't just about, I've got to react, I've got to do something, which is how we all feel. I do this too, but saying, wow, what's happening with me right now? How can I be present for myself with what's happening right now? And, make choices from there. Maybe something does need to change. Maybe they need to ask for something, but it takes out the overwhelm of emotion, the powerlessness of especially big emotions, and becomes something that even very young kids can understand, feel curious about, and feel comfortable with, which is really what this is all about, right? We want to be able to experience this moment, feel comfortable in this moment, with peace, with kind of bring our best selves. We want to feel comfortable in our own skin right here, right now.
Yeah, that would be amazing if everyone, including younger children especially, could feel that. I think we see more and more anxious children, and starting at a younger age. So it's really important, I think, that we can help them with these practices. So what would you say is the best way to kind of encourage the kids once they've learned some of these ideas, like using the breath or the listening meditation, to use them regularly?
Well, there's a couple answers to that. I mean, my first answer is always to make it fun, which is what happens with the books that I've written. And the other part is, the tricky part and the important part is that we know they, learn more by watching what we're doing than by anything we ever tell them. Yeah. And, for myself, you're talking about what it would mean to have these skills for children and to share these skills with more and more children. I can remember being in my 20s, and yoga was relatively new, at least the way it's practiced now, not new by any stretch, but new in this country, new in the United States in terms of accessibility and conversion and pop culture kind of level. And I was taking a yoga class, and it was one of my first, and a woman said to me, take a deep breath in and feel all the way from, the tips of your fingers down to your toes and the top of your head to your toes. And I remember that feeling of, I could feel my fingers and I could feel my toes, but it was almost like I couldn't feel anything else. I couldn't feel all my body. And there was nothing actually wrong. It was just awareness. It was just kind of, I wasn't living in a way that was integrated, that I didn't even know I should be, or that I wanted to be. I didn't even, later, as you start to make connections in yourself, you feel why it matters and why the disconnection was a problem. But at the time I didn't. And I feel like, that sense of kind of peace begins with me, is is that it really begins with us. There's a brilliant program in the U.S., Mindful Schools, that is really dedicated to, and they're based in the Bay Area in San Francisco and Northern California, and just phenomenal. And they do so much online. Just giving them a pitch because I just love them. I don't have anything to do with them, but I love them. But what's brilliant about what they're doing, and this isn't just true of them, there's other organizations doing this, is that they're very dedicated to mindfulness in schools, but their programs begin with the teacher. It begins with the teacher, and it's like light bulb, we're so focused on how do we get this to our kids? How do we get this to our kids? Because of course, and let it start there. That's a beautiful impulse. But as with a program like Mindful Schools and others, they know they could bring in specialists and experts and give the kids tools, give the kids books, give the kids skills. But if it's not happening in the community, if it's not happening at the teacher level and in the home, if as a parent you aren't sort of also exploring this, it's really hard. I think it really has to be, and I don't do this perfectly, but it has to be that, I notice the temperature of the dishes I'm washing. And I notice when I'm having a reaction. My daughter walks through, she's 15, and I'm carrying some conversation we had earlier or some concern I have about something that may or may not have happened in 3 years when she goes to college. And I'm carrying all that. And if I can get honest and just feel it, it doesn't make it go away, but I can just, oh yeah, my chest is so tight and my shoulders, and I feel it, and I can breathe and just make choices from this place rather than from like, I'm having a moment. The more I can do that, the more I believe, that, and giving them actual skills and kind of introducing these ideas makes a big difference. Of course, with that in place, then I think we're planting seeds. We're planting them all the time. We're making the idea that you would listen to yourself, the idea that you would, again, the idea that you would focus on your breath, the idea that you would stretch, move your body to relieve some stress, the idea that you have stress, that's a normal reaction, the idea that things are hard and that we don't have to push that away, we can just feel it, that big emotions don't have to be scary. I think the more that we bring all that in and then make it kid-centered and fun and kind of make it playful, I think the kids respond beautifully. They absolutely love it. I would say, I work in a bunch of different schools, and I have 6th grade boys that I would never think would be interested in a yoga class. And it's, it's mandatory for them, who ask, if we're going to have a visualization at Shavasana, who want that kind of relaxation, because it works, So I think part of why they're responding so beautifully is that you do feel differently. Yeah. You do feel differently if you can feel your next breath in and your next breath out. It does shift something. And, as humans, we all want that.
Yeah, definitely. And I think what you said is so important, that kids obviously soak in what we're actually doing or how we're being much more than what we tell them to do. So
hard, right? It's hard that that's the case, but it is.
Yeah, I have a 15-year-old daughter too. So so it's really important for teachers and I think everyone to develop this practice. I just know how much it's helped me personally. So I'm a big advocate of everyone, finding what works for them and then sharing it. So thanks for saying that. Now, I get asked this question a lot, and you probably do too. Can young children meditate?
Yeah, I do, because it's like, because you know your child, or your classroom, and the idea of them sitting still or being quiet is sometimes humorous. And I mean, the short answer is yes, because meditation is focusing on one focal point, one thing, and that can be a word. In my middle school book, this moment is your life, and so is this one. We do an exercise where the inhale is re and the exhale is lax. And it's just relax, relax. And so, keep a little more is less. I mean, less is more, a little, a lot is, I think, what makes a big difference. But, 100%, or doing the listening exercise, that's a meditation. If a child can follow 3 to 5 breaths, that's huge. That creates a big shift in the brain. It creates a big shift in their capacity. It increases their ability to move out of the fight or flight or freeze and into kind of rest and digest. I mean, the thing that I love about all of this work, with children and with adults, is that it doesn't take much. A little and you're there. If you can notice what it feels like to sit in your chair and the light in the room and maybe the temperature of the air on your face, we find that next breath in and out, you've shifted something, and it has a power that can affect your whole day.
Yeah, beautiful. Can you tell us a little bit, like, why did you start writing these books for kids? What was your background, and what kind of inspired you to? Because you have this whole series now. So how did that all start?
It's definitely a dream come true to have this many books out. Dream come true for me personally, but also that there's this much of a response. That the kind of people want it and they're responding, and that's happening at a global level. My books are a tiny part of that, but it's still exciting and an honor to kind of be a part of that happening in this century. And that kind of level of awareness, which I think will be what helps us in these times. So I always was in education in various forms. I ended up getting a master's in education, and I taught in public schools on the East Coast of the United States, in Massachusetts, and it was great. I was also starting to do yoga at the time. Yoga was really building, and my husband became a yoga teacher, and we were kind of thinking about bringing our worlds together and opening a studio. And I finally made that decision and thought that I was kind of moving away from direct education work, but it didn't quite fit to me because it had been such a big part of my world, and I love the work with kids. And very quickly I was asked to come in and start developing a yoga program in one of the schools I had taught in. And one thing led to another. It was extremely challenging. There were very little resources at the time. This is a couple decades ago. And I put together slowly and based on kind of the adult trainings that I had been a part of, a program that I felt like really met kids where they were at. And I started doing that work. And then, after years of doing that and teaching in studios and schools and training teachers, I still felt like, wow, this work can reach the 20 kids, the 30 kids, maybe the 70 teachers if I'm lucky at doing a big training. But wouldn't it be amazing if you could kind of let them take it home? And so I wrote Goodnight Yoga and kind of spent a number of years working on that and getting that sort of where I wanted it to be. And was really grateful to team up with Sounds True Publishing, who are phenomenal in the field of mindfulness in particular, as well as many other extremely needed programs and books. And I mean, they're kind of they've really charted territory and charted the course, I think, for many to follow. But they were kind of really out there front runners in terms of getting this work out into the world in a powerful way. So, it's fantastic to team up with them and start creating the books. And then it's just, the rest is history. It's just been an amazing process. But yeah, I really, it was that kind of practical sense of, it's great that I can do this. How do I bring it to more? How do I do more? So just wonderful that it's been able to be shared with so many people. It's just that I've also always been a writer. So to bring these worlds together is, more than I could have hoped for.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing all this practical things, and the book's coming out in January.
And we're doing a giveaway. You could get one of these.
Yes, exactly. Yes, that's really kind. So we'll have details about that.
Yeah.
And do you want to show us the inside? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how to do it effectively, but here I'll
show us a few pages. Yeah. Wow, beautiful.
Sarah Jane Hinder is.
They're gonna love it. Yeah. Awesome. So exciting.
Wonderful talking with you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for this work.
I really appreciate you being on the summit, and look forward to seeing the book in January.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.